The lights of the Charlotte Motor Speedway shine brightly on NASCAR Winston Cup Racing's all-star event, the Winston Select. Perhaps the Jeff Gordon Show would be a more fitting title, as the boy wonder has the car to beat, whipping the field in the first of 3 segments. Lap 2 of segment 2. Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer adds a little spice to the race as he and Kenny Schrader make contact, sending both cars spinning. Dale Earnhardt is also caught up in the melee, as is Terry Labonte. After a couple of pit stops, Earnhardt, driving the silver number 3 in honor of R.J. Reynolds' 25th anniversary in Winston Cup racing, is able to continue. After inverting the field following segment 1, it only takes Gordon and his rocket ship 17 laps to get to the front again, as he holds off the field one more time, winning segment 2, bringing up another $50,000 for a total so far of $100,000, with one 10-lap segment remaining. As always seems to be the case, there's lots of excitement in segment 3, and it starts right off the bat with Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt gunning for the top spot. They team up on Jeff Gordon, passing him on both sides as they head into turn 3 with a big head of steam. But as they made their way out of 4, Earnhardt's car slips and slides right into DW's machine, forcing him into the wall. It sends the field scattering, and a total of 4 cars are out of the race. When the dust settles, it's guess who still on the point? Jeff Gordon holding off Sterling Marlin to win the Winston Select and collecting a cool $300,000 for sweeping all 3 segments. Jeff Gordon's success in the Winston Select makes him the clear favorite for the Coca-Cola 600 the following week at Charlotte. But the story is actually Gordon's lack of success. The pole sitter for the 600 falls out of contention early after he loses an entire wheel on lap 78, forcing the 24 car behind the wall to make repairs. After Gordon's demise, the lead is switched back and forth between several drivers as day becomes night. Ken Schrader appears to be the man to beat, at times dominating the field. But poor old Kenny Schrader still can't find a good luck charm that'll work. A winless streak of almost 3 years on the verge of being snapped, and his engine lets go with 42 laps remaining. All of a sudden, that gives the lead to Bobby Labonte, who comfortably cruises home to his first career NASCAR Winston Cup victory, a special achievement in its own right, but combined with the fact that his brother Terry finishes second, well, that makes things even sweeter for the brothers Labonte. Well, certainly one of the major stories in 1995 was teams getting caught with illegal parts. NASCAR's top cop, Gary Nelson, and his eagle-eyed inspectors started early, catching the Bill Davis racing team on the very first week of Speed Weeks down in Daytona.
This is the post that holds the trunk lid in place. It was hooked up to a pump in the car that the driver threw the switch on, threw a little hydraulic fluid into the line, and watch this right here. See that drop down? That dropped the deck lid on the car a ½ inch, dropped the spoiler a ½ inch out of the air, made the car go that much faster. Just one of several items already, although by far the most major one of several items on Gary Nelson's display table so far this weekend. Cost the Bill Davis team $25,000 and their driver another $10,000.
But don't worry, Bill, those dollars don't even compare to the fine levied against Junior Johnson. The parts police caught him with an illegal manifold and fined him $40,000. Subsequently reduced to $35,000 after appeals. Junior Johnson's fine was one of the largest ever imposed by NASCAR, but not for long. At Talladega, Ricky Rudd was caught with another trunk-lowering device. The penalty this time, $50 grand. And then Jeff Gordon with an unapproved hub at Charlotte. A hub not only against the rules, but also, according to NASCAR, somewhat dangerous. And for crew chief Ray Evernham, very expensive. His fine, $60,000.
You know, it hurt confidence and whatnot, but you have to face up like a man and go on, and that's what we're doing.
All sorts of stories greet the NASCAR Winston Cup drivers at Dover Downs International Speedway. A new concrete racing surface at the Monster Mile, now named White Lightning, is very, very fast, and it provides record-shattering speed at the racetrack. And for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, that record-setting speed provides some record-breaking headaches. After Saturday's Busch Grand National Series race, Goodyear elects to pull the tires that they have brought after several of the teams experienced severe blistering on their Goodyear Eagles. But thanks to some quick overnight work on behalf of Leo Mel and his Goodyear staff, the NASCAR Winston Cuppers have all new tires that work just fine come race day. Jeff Gordon stands up to his team's fine work, thank you, as the DuPont car captures another Busch pole. It's a short day, though, for almost half the field. John Andretti breaks loose and starts a huge wreck that eventually damages 20 cars. Pole sitter Jeff Gordon holds the lead for the early part of the race, but Kyle Petty is the fastest car in the field, darting towards the front. Petty eventually takes the lead on lap 136. But Coors Light Pontiac is dominant, opening up as much as a 10-second cushion. In the late stages, Petty feels a threat from Bobby Labonte and Ted Musgrave, but he's able to hold off both of them as he picks up his first win in almost 2 years, coming all the way from his 37th starting position to collect an emotional and exhausting win. After a solid 5th place finish, Dale Earnhardt continues to pad his lead in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series point standings, now 100 points ahead of Sterling Marlin heading to Pocono, where finally Ken Schrader finds some good luck as he captures the pole for the UAW GM Teamwork 500. The news is not so good for another guy having a tough 1995. Dale Jarrett spins on lap 2. And for the second week in a row, his day is over very early. Pole sitter Schrader, like the rest of the field, spent most of his day chasing teammate Jeff Gordon, as the DuPont car is once again the class of the field. One time, Gordon even made a green flag pit stop and never lost the lead. With the field apparently battling for second, Jeff Gordon proves that even he can make mistakes. On a restart with 4 laps remaining, Gordon misses a shift and breaks the drivetrain. After a dominating performance, Jeff Gordon finishes 16th. But all is not lost for the Hendrick team, as teammate Terry Labonte inherits the lead and goes on to claim his second victory of 1995. Yet another new racing surface is the talk of the tour when we visit Michigan for the first time in 1995. Where the new pavement leads to some record speeds. And here's a real surprise. Jeff Gordon is the man with the fastest car, capturing his 7th Busch pole of the season. Ricky Rudd, the outside pole sitter, and Gordon switch the lead back and forth through the early going. Then trouble for Rudd as he and Hutch Strickland, battling for position, make some contact, sending both into the wall. Ricky takes a hard pop, and he has to be airlifted to a local hospital for a few bruises, but he's okay, just fine. With the new asphalt surface, things are very slick, with only one true lane of racing available, and it makes passing very tough. Even 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt gets into trouble, making contact with the wall in turn 3. Earnhardt falls out of the race, failing to finish for the first time in 16 races, winding up 35th. Meantime, the late duel is between Jeff Gordon and Bobby Labonte. Gordon shoots past Labonte with 16 laps left, but in the end, Labonte has the stronger horse as he gets past Gordon 4 laps later and holds him off the rest of the way, as Bobby follows up brother Terry's win at Pocono with a win of his own at Michigan in the Miller Genuine Draft 400. But the real fireworks come just after the checkered flag. Michael Waltrip lets Lake Speed know how he feels about Lake's close quarters racing. Michael later apologized, but the incident cost him $10,000. That's $5 grand a punch if you're keeping score at home. Well, the combination of Dale Earnhardt's bad finish with Sterling Marlin's 7th place effort vaults Marlin into the point lead, 6 ahead of Earnhardt and 12 in front of Jeff Gordon, as we reach halfway at the Pepsi 400 at Daytona International Speedway. Dale Earnhardt leads the field to the green flag after capturing his second bush pole of the season. The July Daytona heat was typical, with temperatures on pit road soaring to almost 140 degrees. But nothing could slow down Jeff Gordon, who leads the most laps. Mike Wallace makes things interesting with this spin late in the race, which allows the field to bunch up for a one-lap dash to the checkered flag. Gordon puts the whip to his DuPont horses, and he's able to fend off a challenge from Sterling Marlin and Dale Earnhardt to capture his fourth win of the 1995 season at the Pepsi 400.
You know, we had a great pit stop. We lost this thing in the pits here in February, and my guys know it, but they're strong. They fought back, and they won this one for us in the pits. They got us out there first. I said, all you have to do is get me out first, and we can hold them off. I didn't want to see that caution because Earnhardt's the best there is on restarts, and luckily him and Sterling were battling back there, and we come across the finish first, man. It was awesome.
After winning the Pepsi 400, Jeff Gordon tries to become the first driver in 1995 to win back-to-back races. His chance comes at New Hampshire International Speedway, but in qualifying, Gordon doesn't have his usual success. After hitting the wall, Jeff has to resort to second-round qualifying, starting 21st as race day is approached. Meanwhile, it's Mark Martin who leads the field to the green flag for the Slick 5300. And Martin, who has the strongest car, leads the first 37 laps until Jeff Gordon and crew chief Ray Evernham decide to use a little strategy. This 8-second, two-tire stop moves Gordon from 15th to 1st. Focusing on the Winston Cup points battle, point leader Sterling Marlin starts 31st and finishes a strong 9th. Dale Earnhardt, trailing Marlin by 16 points coming to New Hampshire, has some problems on pit road. After making 2 unscheduled stops, he finishes a disappointing 22nd. As for Jeff Gordon, well, let's just say his storybook year continues as he leads New Hampshire with his 5th win of the year and the point lead as well. Gordon wins the Slick 5300, moving 35 points ahead of Sterling Marlin and collecting yet another bonus, this time $50,000 from Gatorade for leading the points at halfway through the 1995 season. Bill Elliott continues his resurgence with his new team as he captures his first bush pole in over a season. Pocono International Raceway, the Miller Genuine Draft 500, the McDonald's Ford has the best seat in the house as race day approaches. Bill Elliott leads the first lap for him all season long. In fact, lots of laps are led by Ford drivers. In one of the most competitive races thus far this season, the lead changes hands an amazing 37 times among 13 drivers. And the man on the point for most of the afternoon is Rusty Wallace with his dominant T-Bird showing the way for 74 of the race's 200 laps. The 5th caution of the afternoon, involving 3 cars, comes out at a very opportune time with just 41 laps remaining. The leaders enter a game of fuel strategy. Unsure as to whether they can make it all the way on fuel or not, Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett, and Wallace switch the lead back and forth in the waning moments. 12 laps to go. Jarrett proves he has the car to beat. He slips underneath Jeff Gordon to take the lead. Then, with 7 laps remaining, Rusty Wallace is forced out of the game. He has to come in, his Miller Genuine Draft Ford running out of fuel. In the final 15 miles, Jeff Gordon can't do anything with Dale Jarrett, as months and months of frustration are finally over for Jarrett and the Robert Yates Racing team as they break into victory lane at Pocono in the Miller Genuine Draft 500.